Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Snack and Learn webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just mentioning the housekeeping items, the presentation slides are available to download in the Materials tab on the top right. And also there will be time for question and answers. If you can please log your questions in the question tab, and we will address these at the end. So I will hand it over to Nikolai and Matthias to start the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you to all of you who are attending this Snack and Learn webinar about our little GIS tool called the Proximity tool. Matthias and I will give you an introduction, and we hope you will reach out and contact us if you find this interesting. Now, my name is Nikolai Thomasen, and I'm working in WSP Denmark at our office in Aarhus, in Jutland, in Denmark, where I work with nature-based climate adaptation projects and rivers and river valleys. Along with Matthias, who are not staying in Denmark for the moment. But Matthias, will you tell a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you to all of you for showing up for this webinar. My name is Matthias, and I work as a GIS specialist. Just as Nikolai, I am a biologist, but I gravitated towards data and CS quite early after I graduated, and have been thriving a lot in WSP in a position where people come to me with all sorts of questions like, can this be datafied? Can this be mapped? And this is one of those cases where Nikolai came with an interesting question and converted it into a tool, and it should be accessible to all, both the tool itself and the results of it.
Thank you, Matthias. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the background for this making this tool, and it comes from my work with nature-based climate adaptation projects. What you see here is a famous project that our Copenhagen colleagues made together with the architect company Schönherr, called the Karensminde-aksen. And what I was wondering about working with these kind of projects is how does this kind of project add value to the surrounding urban area? And how does it add value as to compare to a more traditional solution? For instance, this project, Karensminde-aksen, maybe you could have solved the hydraulic problems by just laying down some big concrete pipes leading out the cloudburst stormwater. So I was wondering if we could calculate some of the effects of establishing a green urban area like this. And notice that you can read more about the Karensminde-aksen project if you follow the link down here. Actually, my thoughts were much aligned with a work in progress that is going on at the universities in Denmark, in Aarhus and Copenhagen. And actually, we have a citation from one of the senior researchers, Toge Penduro, which I think is quite spot on to what we wanted to do with the proximity tool. He says that we know that stakeholders and decision makers, they first of all they prioritize economically, and if you don't try to calculate the economic effects of re-establishing nature in our urban areas, we cannot compare the effects of making nature-based climate adaptation projects as compared to making normal rainwater management projects. So I went to Matthias and I asked him to make a tool for me who could help me map the effect of a project like this one. And he did, and he made a tool that was actually a bit better and generic that I hoped for. He made this proximity tool that he will tell you about in a minute or so. And this is a GIS based tool that calculates the walking distance from each individual property to, for example, existing or planned green areas. But it could also be the distance to schools or bus stops or whatever entity you could be interested in knowing the walking distance to. And now, when we are talking about green areas and properties, it could also calculate the potential increase in property value for these properties who lies in the proximity of the planned green areas. And you could also twist the tool to calculate which properties meet a proximity requirement. For instance, that there should be no more than 300 meters to the nearest green area or whatever. In order to calculate the economic effects of establishing green areas or making these areas more accessible, or you could we used this algorithm you have here. I think Matthias is going to tell you now how he used this algorithm and his skills at programming to make the tool and show you how it works.
So I was fortunate enough that Nikolai was able to find this pseudocode written in orange and tried to translate that into a tool. And although I really wanted to show you the engine compartment of the tool, there's not much to see. So we made a few very simple examples on the next slide. Yeah. So into the tool, you have to feed the buildings. They're marked here in gray. You have to feed a road network. And in this case, we inserted a park because we wanted to investigate which economical effect will this establishing this area as a park have on the nearby residential houses. So, of course, as with all tools, the better the input, the better the output. In this case, if you feed in the houses like this, like small polygons, you could attach a property value, an existing property value. In Denmark, it's very easy to access. And once that is settled, you can put that into as the first input. The second input would be the road network. As you can see here, the road network is of rather high quality. It even consists of the small roads in even the smallest neighborhoods, but it doesn't go all the way into the house. You can't see the driveway itself. So on the next slide, you can see what the tool does during computation. It adds this little driveway written, it's drawn in blue or cyan, depending on your screen, because the tool, it's necessary for the tool to have a perfect connection from the house itself and into the park. And it's using this road network, modified road network, to calculate the walking distance from the house to the park. Also, in this case, we wanted to showcase another feature that we actually only thought about secondary. But if you can see the bridge that we painted in sort of a pink, line, it crosses a tiny creek that gives access to the houses on the southern part of this creek. So if that bridge wasn't existing, the houses on the southern side of the creek would not have any access, and they wouldn't have any raise in property value, because as stated by the scientists that wrote up the pseudocode, it's only a walking distance that we're calculating. Also, the tool generates these access roads. They're drawn in like a brownish color inside the park. They are of lesser importance. So once all these things have been developed by the tool, it spits out the results that are in the next slide. So here we can see the network that the calculations have been made upon, and we can see the value increase for all the houses. In this case, the houses, they all had a property value in Danish crowns attached to them, the public listing value. So a house in very close proximity to the park can have its value raised as much as 10% of the property value. Since we had Danish crowns here, it recalculated into how much is the value increase in Danish crowns. If a property value is not specified, the output will be in percentage of the existing property value. Also, in this screenshot, you can see the road network that it was calculated on. So if you are calculating in an area without a road network, the little blue lines, they will be drawn in a straight line from the house to the park, and you can modify that made network and feed it into the model as a new input. And that way, come closer and closer to a result that you trust. Actually, the final result is a delimited text file, and it shows that the accumulated value of making this park or improving the park and making this tiny bridge will be a value of about $400,000 to $500,000, like 2.8 million Danish crowns. In the next slide, and the last, you can see the steps here, and I believe some text was supposed to come down. So this is a GIS tool that is accessible from wherever you work. It's right now it's being published in an SME server, but it doesn't have a user interface, and it calculates the walking distance from the individual properties to whatever park area or green area that you want to analyze. And it does that on the road network that is either existing or modified. Yeah. You can see in the last slide that a lot of the houses that are white, they are not gaining any increase in property value because they do not meet the proximity requirements, though they are still a part of the analysis. Next slide, Nikolai. Oh, sorry. Yeah, next. So we believe this tool is kind of an easy way to estimate how much increase in property value you can have from improving an existing park or creating a new one. But of course, there are also other added values. Yeah.
Yes. So who could be interested in using this tool? Who could be the clients we talk to? Well, it's obvious that real estate companies and other property owners could be interested in to know how do we benefit if we invest in creating a green area close to our properties, or improving the access to these green areas. Another group of clients could be stakeholders who wants to compare a nature-based project with other types of projects to know whether they should choose this one or another solution for example managing the climate adaptation and handling of stormwater, flooding, and so on. And also, of course, urban planners and architects in municipalities or elsewhere who want to plan a city or changing the existing urban areas into areas with a better access to green areas and nature, and maybe other commodities of the city. It could be I've talked with some of our architect colleagues who are talking about the 15-minute city, where there should be no more than a walk of 15 minutes to whatever you need to live a good and healthy life in the city. So it's quite a generic tool that Matthias has made. Now, you have to, or maybe Matthias, you should tell what are needed, what kind of data are needed in order to make these calculations and use the tool.
Well, as for the hard data itself, you need, of course, the houses, and you need the green area polygons, and that would be like a minimum set, and as you will calculate on straight lines. The better the road network you can add to the model, the better the output will be. But also, there are softer values that are harder to put in numbers, like the quality of the green area polygons. Like you could even use this tool to analyze for vacant lots in the city. Like what if we turn this vacant lot that has no value into something of a high value? Which effect will that have on the nearby properties? So
Yes, and
I think it's a very robust tool that can operate on a very low amount of data, but also is able to use a better data set.
And also now we'll talk about this algorithm for the relationship between proximity to nature and the property value. And as Matthias told before, that's not necessary in order to calculate the percentage effect, but you can also fit this relationship into whatever you estimate would be the relationship in your region, and it probably differs from region to region. And then we must not forget that it does matter the quality of the green area which are established. And I'm sure you can tell the difference between the example with the Karlsminde-Aksen and maybe just a plain green fields or something like that. So there is work to be done in order to refine these calculations in order to take the quality of the green areas into account. And I think that's about the tool. We are now open for questions, and we hope you have some for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Nikolai and Matthias. Fantastic presentation, really interesting tool. Just mentioning the housekeeping items before we go through the Q&A. The presentation slides are available to download in the material tab on the top right, and also there you can find a question box where you can continue to log your questions. I will start with the first question. Have you considered comparing these maps to vacant lot city maps? They say here it's an easy way for cities to add pockets of green spaces.
When we started out working on this tool, it was just to put a hard value on something like more soft, like what added value is there from this park. During the work, we realized that we could also use it to analyze new access roads, such as the little bridge over the creek. And we haven't yet thought about using it for vacant lots, but it's an obvious case, and I think it would make for great value both for the city planners and people around the vacant lots.
Yes.
Also,
Thank
a
you.
vacant lot can even have a negative impact, I believe, in its current condition. So the benefit is possibly huge.
Yes, if you can turn the tool around and say if you're going to replace green areas or nature areas with buildings, what negative effect would it have for the surrounding properties in value and also in health conditions in the people staying there?
Thank you. Does the tool work the same for the loss of green areas?
Yeah, you can use it for calculating the effect of loss of green areas and nature. You definitely could.
Thank you. Can you also add other constraints in this tool to inform decision making? For example, avoidance of sensitive natural feature, topography, private property, etc.
Well,
Well, as
will you
it is
answer?
right now, it operates just on the access roads. So if there's no access roads, there is no property added property value. Uh, so you would have to go about and do it like a proxy analysis, but it's not built in, like topography is not built in currently.
Thank you. How time consuming is the proximity analysis?
Well, if you just want a fast estimate and you're not going to sit and refine the road network manually, it's a very fast tool. It's like this analysis ran in a couple of minutes. And of course, the setup is the time consuming part, and it's very hard to give an estimate as to how much that is.
Thank you. Sorry, we have a lot of questions coming through. Can
Okay.
you think of any uses of wider business, for example, assessing impact of flood risk?
I'm not quite sure what mean if you think of the risk of flooding the houses. I will probably use some other tools, but I can see a lot of potential for using this tool in planning of the new city and plan a healthy green city and map where there's a lack of access to green areas or recreational areas. Maybe I misunderstood the question, and if I did so, you're welcome to write to us. I will try to answer that more precisely.
Thank you. How do you suggest I calibrate my local property value with the proximity relationship?
Well, there are several ways you can do this. You can go into the statistics for the city you are looking at and try to see if you can figure out a algorithm or relationship between buildings and the existing green areas. But we also talked about a much more simple way to do this, and that is to contact and ask the local skilled, experienced real estate brokers, showing them your project and asking them what do they expect that the properties in the surroundings around the project going to increase, and then try to build a relationship from the answers from these folks.
Thank you. The question here is, how can we access this tool? Where is it available? If you can share more details, please.
I think you should just reach out to me. It's a rather generic tool, and it can run on most things. But yeah, I'll probably have to like talk with people who want to use it. But please do so. It would be super interesting.
Of course, if we experience a great interest in this tool, we could make it to maybe some kind of plug-in tool, but that would demand some programming, I think.
Thank you. Are you aware of examples of green areas and nature increasing the property value abroad?
Yes. We'll show. We have until now we have just shown you some Danish examples, but you can see this relationships elsewhere. For example, you can have a look at the site that's called 1 Million Trees in New York, where you can see how the New Yorkers have invested in establishing urban forests and green areas in order to improve health of the New Yorkers, but also to improve property value.
Fantastic. I will take the last question, and all additional questions will be answered directly by the presenters. It's a bit long, so please bear with me. Is there a way to decipher if the green areas are not sized correctly per the density of the residents around it? The person is saying here, I'm working on a general plan update, and the Parks Department hasn't noticed that their density has increased and the green spaces are not sized accurately to accommodate quality green space for the residents. So if you can comment on that, please.
I think it's a GIS maneuver for Matthias that's asked for.
I think it's a very interesting question, but I don't think this tool is the right approach to answering this question because it doesn't take like density and the capacity of the green parks into account. And we tried to stick very straight to what the researchers on Aarhus University wrote, and I don't recall this being mentioned.
Okay, please.
This
So the person who asked the question, if they can please reach out to Matthias. And again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Please feel free to reach out to the presenters via the contact details shown on the screen. Thank you for all your fantastic questions. And again, thank you to our wonderful presenters for showing us this exciting project and tool. So with that, we will wrap up the session now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Have a wonderful day. I will wrap up the session now. Thank you.